What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Hope everybody's having a great day or night whenever you're watching this. There's like legit rumors that Klay Thompson is about to leave the Golden State Warriors in free agency, and I'm pretty shocked at it because I thought Klay was a Dubs lifer, and it doesn't seem like he's going to be back next season because they seem to be super far apart in contract negotiations. And yeah, so I think there's a few teams that could be calling Klay, and they're going to drive his market up. Let's face it, he's still a really good shooter. He's still a solid defender. He fits a major need that a lot of teams in the NBA have. You want that two-way wing player that can knock down threes at a high clip. He still fits that mold. And I think there is probably 3 or 4 teams that will be calling. Whether they're offering big money or not, it's a completely different story. But let me know in the comments, who do you want to see Klay Thompson play for next season? Is it the Warriors or is it somebody else? So yeah, let me know. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe if you like this kind of content. Please like the video. But let's start with the first team, and they got a ton of money, and they got to add somebody. And it's the Philadelphia 76ers because they got money to blow. And I feel like Klay would be a backup if they don't land Paul George. I think that's the idea that they could be running down as like a tier 2 pickup if they make it happen. Because let's face it, he still does play decent basketball. He's still a good shooter. He still defends. And that fits next to Tyrese Maxey. It fits next to Joel Embiid. It opens up the game for Joel in the paint. It opens up the game for Maxey on his drives. It does good things for their team. And he's better than Tobias Harris just in terms of the value that he puts on the court. Because you have to respect him no matter where he's at on the floor, which is going to open things up for anybody else that's playing next to him. So I think the Sixers are a legit option. I just think they're going to be gunning for Paul George. And if that doesn't happen, Klay could be a fallback plan. Another team that I think is an interesting one, but I'm not super high on it, the Oklahoma City Thunder. And this is simply because they have a lot of money and they're not paying anybody for the next couple of years, really. So they have money to blow, and they're a team that theoretically could be going after him just because of the cap space and the fact that they struggled shooting in the playoffs and the spacing wasn't as good as it was in the regular season when things cramped down. You can't leave Klay open still. So I think that fit-wise, he's all right for that. But I just feel like they're really guard heavy. Like, you have MVP level Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You have Lou Dort still on the team. You just traded for Alex Cruz, so you have an up-and-coming a guard that I think is going to be really good in Case and Wallace. So you have 4 guards already, and yeah, Klay can play the 3, but you already have J-Dub. So, and then you have like an Aaron Wiggins that I like. You have Isaiah Joe that I like. I don't know if OKC goes for that. I also just don't think he solves their biggest problem, which is size. I want to see OKC gun for Isaiah Hartenstein. That's what I want to see them do. But I understand the idea. I'm not big on OKC. I think it's just because they have so much money that they're in this kind of running. But yeah, I don't see it happening. Now, one that I think could be kind of underrated, and I think that's already been reported that there's been some interest from both sides, is the Orlando Magic going for Klay Thompson. And it's reported that it's kind of dwindled down a little bit, but players aren't supposed to be talking to other teams right now. It's kind of what the rules are. So who knows what's true, what's not. But ultimately, he's a souped up Gary Harris, right? Like, he's a good defender and an even better shooter. So they found out in the playoffs they needed to add spacing for Paolo, because if you watch that series against the Cavaliers, there was 3 and 4 bodies in the paint at all times whenever Paolo had the ball, and he still played great. He's played especially great for those circumstances and being his first playoff series. But being a young team that has some money to spend and they're not paying anybody because their best guys have only been in the league for a year or 2 or 3 years in Franz's case, maybe go sign Klay Thompson and you improve your team. I don't think he solves their biggest problem, because their biggest problem, I think, is shot creation from a guard. He's not going to go create shots necessarily for anybody else. I think they need to be gunning really hard for Anthony Simons. But Klay, if you wanted to, have Jalen Suggs start, Klay at the 2, Franz at the 3, Paolo at the 4, and then Wendell at the 5. Whoever your 5 is going to be, Goga if you bring him back. They have an option. But it would be interesting to see if he's on like a 2 or 3 year deal by the time his contract's up. That that's when Paolo's getting paid. That's when Franz is getting paid. The main dudes on their team, Suggs. So yeah, I think it'd be fun in Orlando. I think he solves a need and a problem. But I don't think he's the perfect guy for them to be going for in free agency. But nonetheless, like Philly, could be a great second option. The fourth team is the Houston Rockets. They have some money to spend, and I like the fit on that team because they were, 23rd in three-point shooting at 35% a game, and they were 27th in effective field goal percentage. There's only 30 teams in the NBA, so that's really bad shooting. So clearly, we need to add some floor spacing to that. Need to add a knockdown shooter. And I think he helps Jalen Green in the sense that the paint's going to be a little bit more of an open runway. Definitely helps Operin Şengün because he's got somebody to kick to because that man's creating for others. Freddie is a nice piece. And then Jabari, it'll open the floor for him a little bit more. I like that team, how that looks if you bring Klay in. You have Freddie at the 1, Jalen at the 2, Klay at the 3, Jabari at the 4, and Şengün at the 5. I think he helps maximize a lot of what those other guys do. But that's a lot of guys that need to shoot the ball in your starting 5. And that might be where it gets a little clunky in terms of is Jalen Green going to be the guy? Because he was showing it in the second half of the season. Is Freddie still going to be getting him up like he does? We know Şengün will willingly create every pass available for his teammates. But ultimately these guys, they want to shoot the ball. The name of the game is putting the ball in the basket. And I think he would help that, but I don't know. It could be interesting if he's there. Then you have Dylan Brooks off the bench. I don't know. It's a cool fit. I don't hate it, but I don't know. Orlando. Houston is a tricky one because it feels like they're going big game hunting for a Jimmy Butler this offseason. And that would be interesting, but I think Klay fits what Ime Udoka wants to bring to the team in terms of the seriousness and trying to win, and that he has something to prove. I think Klay feels he has something to prove and going to try and win elsewhere. I think that's something he's in the later stages of his career. He's heard his whole career how, he was the third fiddle and fourth fiddle on the team. And ultimately, maybe he wants to prove to himself that he can go be something more somewhere else, especially at this stage in his career. Who knows? But he's a tricky one because ultimately, maybe the Warriors just bring him back, and this is all for nothing. But the other teams that have cap space, I can't imagine. I'm going to read them off right now, and you'll understand why why I don't think he's going to those teams. Let me see. Where's this list? I just had it on my phone right here. Of course, we got to pull up an ad. Gotta love the internet nowadays. So the team with the most projected cap space is the Detroit Pistons. I like players on Detroit. They just fired their coach after one season because he was pretty damn bad and very underwhelming last season. But I can't see Klay going to Detroit. I can't see that being what he does. Then you have the Sixers, which I already talked about them. Then there's the Utah Jazz, which is an interesting one. I could ponder around the idea, but ultimately I don't think that he fits what the Jazz are looking for. Then you have the Thunder. We talked about them. The Spurs is a fun one. Klay in the Popovich system with Wemby, opening the floor for him. It makes sense. I don't hate it, but is he going to go to San Diego? I think he still wants to win at this point in his career. Or San Antonio, geez. I don't know if he wants to go there because they're still a couple years away from anything. So, I don't know. Then there's the Magic. Talked about them. There's the Hornets. I'm sorry, Klay Thompson's not going to the Hornets. That's not happening. I talked about the Rockets. The Raptors, I don't think he wants to move to Canada. Just my 2 cents. And then the Nets. I don't see him wanting to go to the Nets. For a lot of these reasons, a lot of the same reasons as some of these other teams, I think he's trying to win. And I think he has something to prove that he can still be a good, valuable player on a winning team. And some of those teams they're not turning the corner to winning. But I don't know. It's so interesting with him. And I know I've said that 7 times in this video. But where does he go? Because there's teams that he fills a need. He's still a good player. But do they want to pay him? That's where I'm I don't know. I don't know what these teams are going to do because when you're a lot of these young teams and you got money, you're trying to get younger players for good contracts a lot of times. But yeah, let me know in the comments, where do you want to see Klay Thompson play next season? Do you want to see him in a Dubs uniform and finish his career there? Or do you want to see him wear a different jersey and hopefully it's not like a Hakeem Olajuwon on the Raptors or something like that? Or, there's so many players that played basically their entire career in one uniform and then went somewhere else. Tony Parker was a Spur for forever, and then he went to the Hornets. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. I don't want to see Klay end up like that, and I still think he has something to offer. So I think a lot of teams will be calling, and somebody will be getting a good player. But what do I know? If you're new to the channel, please subscribe if you like this kind of content, and please like the video. I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching. I'm done. Peace.